And thank you for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mopariola. Today on the program, 106 trucks of fertilizer, 463 bags of seedlings looted in Jigawa state during violent cost of living protests. Bandits kill Katsina governor's aide and wife, abduct 28 others. And later on the show, Atiku criticizes President Tinubu's administration over continued payment of subsidy on petrol, outraged over persistent crisis in the oil sector. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotu Oladipo. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, the impacts of the violence that erupted during the End Bad Governance protests are beginning to manifest. In Jigawa State, the Commissioner for Justice, Bello Abdulkadir, said hoodlums, under the guise of hunger protests, looted more than 100 trucks of fertilizer and 463 bags of seedlings in the state. The Commissioner said more than 400 arrests have been made following this revelation, while several others have been prosecuted according to the law enforcement authorities.
Rating as to poverty level is improving, courtesy of farming, getting used to farms and what have you. Our rating on poverty is improving, courtesy of empowerment the government is doing to youths. These are the places that were attacked and vandalized, looted while in the protest. The over 106 trucks bought in by the government to what? To improve farming was vandalized, looted. Now, in these local governments where these shows and what have you were vandalized, there is no convincing security that there is no guarantee that that show.
Studio BKO, following this issue, one wonders what could be. There could be definitely underlying grievances and frustrations that would, allow this scale of lootings that happened in Jigawa State, don't you think?
These ones were not protesters. I keep saying it. These ones were not protesters. People set out primarily to steal. You do not call them protesters. There are two things that I hate to hear. Nationwide protest. It was not nationwide. More than a quarter of the states in our country didn't get involved in any form of protest. So what is the definition of nationwide? So it was not a nationwide protest. Then, when people set out, the way they set out in Kano, in Katsina, in Jigawa, in Gombe, the mission is clear, it's just to steal. And they were not just trying to steal from government. They were also out to steal from individuals who had nothing to do with government. Somebody filmed his business premises being looted. So, is that person that you have looted his shop, is he the cause of hunger in the land? No. And that was why some of us said, see, this protest in the way some people conceived it will only permit undesirable elements the latitude to steal in an unrestrained manner. And we saw it in Kano. People looted, they even looted mosque. Took away the rug in the mosque. So, I'm alarmed at what happened in Jigawa because could it be that this is exaggerated? More than 100 trucks of fertilizer looted. I mean, it's surreal. It's not something that I find it easy to relate with.
Believe, yeah.
This is a lot. Because the time that it would take to loot all of that, and where did those fertilizers end up? People must be arrested, barge into their homes, bring out the items that they've stolen. I saw it in Adamawa State. The governor ordered that all of the things that people looted must be recovered. So those who went as far as looting even a tractor, they recovered from them. How do you protest? And your goal is simply to go and steal a tractor. That is not a protest. It is bare-faced looting. And they knew what they were doing. They were looking for an opportunity to steal. Baraka department store, located on the way to the Kano government house, one of the iconic department stores in the entire city. These boys went in, looted it to the ground. They've destroyed lives. The same way they destroyed lives when they looted almost the entire stretch of Admiralty Way. And you say you are a protester. Kaiba protester, Bani.
In as much as
Barau.
Indeed, but
Ana zanga nasata. I told my friend, I said, when a zanga nasata, that this whole protest is just to steal.
yeah.
This is my position. I don't even know how you can convince me that, look, these ones that they were protesting. That's not what you call a protest.
And I'm talking about the issue of stealing, which, is largely what we see here, looting in your own terms. But one would say...
In our terms.
Okay, in our
terms.
terms.
How do you describe that?
Okay.
Do you have any other word for it?
Well, it's looting, clearly so. But, some have said that this has an underlying issue of hunger, poverty. It might not be a justification for such.
Okay. In the UK, they protested. Is the poverty level in Nigeria the same as UK? In the UK, do they have up to 130 million dimensionally poor people? Their population is in the region of maybe 50, something to 60 million. They kept it at that for long. But they were looting shops. They were looting shops in the UK, and more than 400 people were arrested.
Vandalizing even the airports.
They were looting. They were barging into shops and looting in the UK. Liverpool. Go to the internet and see stories of people looting in the UK. Even in France. In France, they like to protest a lot. They also loot. So people have their goals. When those policemen killed that famous black man, the one that went viral, there were protests. Yeah. There were protests in the US. And people looted. Go back and check. People, they were looting shops. They were breaking down shops and looting. That's why I said, if you want to do the kind of protests where you have unrestrained access to our roads, fill the roads with people, you are not going to be able to control that protest. Those whose mission it is to steal, they will capitalize on it. Thank God for the for armed security people in Kano. Zoo Road, as beautiful as it is with all those shops in Kano, they will have looted everything to the ground. People who went and looted court premises, everything on site they wanted to loot. If a human being was standing, they will be happy to loot the human being. Court premises.
Well, Dick, let's get your perspective because, from what the commissioner said, about 400 arrests have been made, and he also called this protest act, acts of opposition sabotage, more or less. Would you agree with that position?
Well, the acts of opposition sabotage, I may not be able to defend. But the fact that we've always lost that capacity to have protest controlled is obvious. When this thing was being, the plans were being laid out and the rest, nobody expected anything short of what has happened. Thank God, like BKO said, at some point the police and the military, they had to combine to stop some of these things. Otherwise, it would have been far worse than what we saw. Because by simple calculation, what that 106 trucks of fertilizer means is nothing less than 63,600 bags. If you calculate it at a truck having 600 bags of fertilizer. But we know the way we load things in Nigeria. When you say 600, you can be sure 1,000 will be there in that truck. Meaning that we can be speaking of over 100,000 bags of fertilizer in this period when Nigeria is going through hunger. And these guys are not going to do anything serious with it. You can imagine that fertilizer getting into the hands of Boko Haram.
Yes. They use it for their...
Just try to imagine the effect it's going to have. And then in a few weeks, you're now talking about Boko Haram doing their bombings. Where did they get the firepower? From this same protest. And I've always said it. See, those who set out to protest, you must first know them and try to isolate the reasons for this protest. When somebody tells me he's protesting and they are trying to raise 4 billion naira for a protest, then it's telling me that there is something more to it. Because a protest is supposed to be something of free will. Okay, we don't like what this government is doing. Look at what happened during the Jonathan era when Professor Wole Soyinka and the rest had the protest. They told people where they were going to move from. GRA in Ikeja to Ojota, and after that we are dispersing. Anything that happens after that, all those people responsible.
Yes.
Despite that very concise statement they gave and everything, told the police and all the rest, people still took over after they left. And we knew what happened after in Lagos. I went to cover that protest here in Ojota. My car was damaged by the same people who were filming, sending their stories up right away there on the net, and they were sharing the links among themselves. They damaged my car. Some people were not that lucky. They took their cars from them. So when things are happening, we must ask ourselves questions. Is this the right time for the kind of things that we do? What ammunitions are we providing for people to make life unbearable for us? We do a lot of damages to ourselves. In this, under this guise of some people saying we are calling a protest.
And you know, I'm actually particularly concerned about the long-term effect of the food insecurity this would have because of the...
It's obviously going to continue.
So how do you think the government needs to address this?
Because it's only in one state that we have this. Do you know the number of states?
Yes.
This would have happened?
Yes.
Do you know the number of states? Even food that was supposed to go to people that were supposed to be shared reasonably, in a number of states, they went and took it out. And some people, you see them having 2 bags of rice, 4 bags taken to their homes. What do they do with it at the end of the day? They take it back into the market and sell it at a costlier price. So we need to be careful.
You protest? You said you were protesting. You climb to the top of a building. You relieve the building of its roof.
You keep damaging.
Because you wanted to sell roofing sheets. After you relieve the building of its roofing sheets, you then looted the place and then set it ablaze. What is the meaning of that? Sheer madness. So you looted a man's building and then proceeded to set it ablaze. What do you call that? You still call that protest? You call barefaced looting protest? I mean, it's not a protest.
People need to be careful. When
it's not a protest. And people keep saying, Tinubu was organizing protests. He was doing this. But his protest was localized in an area. Yeah. They talk about 2011 that Tinubu organized protests. Nobody is saying that you should not organize protests. But the protests that you talk about, Tinubu did not parade the streets. It was localized
in an area.
Right there in Ojota, at the facility that we know our people like to use for protests.
In Ojota.
All we said is parading the streets would invite all kinds of undesirable elements to turn the protest to something else. Nobody said don't protest. Every time, so it's an inalienable right. But rights have limitations. The Constitution defines the limitations. Right. So the fact that you have the right to protest does not mean you should take away my own rights to not protest. And you cannot intimidate me because I chose not to join you in your protest. We saw a lot of intimidation. You block roads, there are people that people should use, you block it. You've infringed on people's right of movement. And that is why they said, okay, stay in a location. In the UK, those who blocked roads, they were put on trial and jailed.
Yeah.
The record is there. You can fact check me.
It's there. It's in Nigeria that
and
people,
then you say, oh, those
make
are
issues out of
Senna climbs,
people being arrested.
In the Senna climbs, when you step out of line in the name of protest,
Going for it.
they will serve you breakfast. It's a you'll be dealt with severely so that you don't do it again.
All
so
right,
this is the thing. We have to proceed from there.
Right.
People can protest, but don't use the opportunity to go and steal.
Absolutely.
Because when you steal in the way that they are doing, they are ruining people's lives. As I've said before, most Nigerian business people don't even insure their business premises. When you loot their business premises, you've ruined their life. You've ruined the lives of those that work for them. But some of the people who are happy to see evil things going on in our country, they don't talk about this because they've sold their conscience. They don't talk about this. Right. You must talk about evil.
And they also create the impression that everybody is a thief.
All right, that's a fine place to leave this discussion. Let's quickly move on to our next focus, where banditry ravaging the north took an ugly twist in Katsina State, where the bandits killed an aide to the state governor, Salisu Ango, his first wife, and abducted his second wife.